Welcome to the Government Oversight Committee. I am your chairperson, Councilwoman Donna Purvis. I'm joined by my co-chair, Councilman Anthony Piaggiatini. In chambers, we have Councilwoman McCraney, Councilman Reed, Councilman Kramer, Councilwoman Baz, Councilman Benrino Weber, Councilman Liniger, and Councilman JJ. Online, we are joined by Councilwoman Hawkins. Clerk, can I have the disclaimer read, please?
This meeting is being held pursuant to KRS 61.826 and Council Rule 5A. Read in full.
Thank you. We're going to switch some things around today at the request of the co-chair, Councilman Piaggiatini. We're going to have the procurement and processes discussion on the end of the agenda today. So we are going to start out with, one second, please.
Can't you do 10 through 13? I mean 10 through 12? Ask some questions.
Our first appointment is appointment of Joanna Casicas to the Commission for Persons with Disability. Term expires December 12th, 2028. I need a motion.
Motion. Second.
Properly moved. Ms. Jackson?
Are we doing, okay. Are we doing Tricia with that one as well? Are we just the first one? Okay, so the Commission for Persons with Disabilities, there are 13 members on this board. They all have prescribed seats. They serve a 4-year term. Seats are, there are 2 members from council, 4 members from an organization or individuals representing people with disabilities, 1 member from the business community, 1 member representing a regional college or university, 1 member representing a rehab professional, 2 members from employment or education advocacy, and 2 members from the community at large. Our first nomination, Joanna Katsikas, will be representing an organization that represents the disabilities community. She is an executive director with North Star Achievement Center. She is an advocate for the disabilities communities personally. She has a Master's of Education along with many certificates. Again, this is a prescribed seat. She fills those requirements. She's here in the chamber to introduce herself to you.
Good evening. My name is Joanna Katsikas, and I appreciate the time that you've given me and the consideration that you may nominate me to serve on this committee. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, if you live in, I mean, the one thing that's not blacked out is you live in 40245, you're probably a constituent, so thank you very much for being here and for volunteering. I'm always encouraging people in my community to get involved in these boards and commissions, so I'm so proud you're doing that. And let me also highlight your work at Stouffer Elementary School, which is an outstanding elementary school in District 19. And then you work at the St. Mary's Center, so I'm a parishioner and part of the men's club at St. Patrick's, and we've done some work with St. Mary's Center, so just a wonderful organization, and I saw your background there. So, yeah, obviously, your background and experience in working for organizations that work with people with disabilities is outstanding. So thank you for your service, and thank you for your willingness to serve on the board.
Thank you
Appreciate
very much.
Yeah.
Councilman Reed?
Thank you. I won't hold it against you that you're one of his constituents, but, no, just kidding. So anyway, I've been on this board for many years as the Metro Council, one of the two Metro Council representatives, and it's a great board. We just, about 2 years ago, started getting our footing after COVID. We got a little bit of a slow start, but one of the things that I'm passionate about is transportation, and I'm very hopeful that the board, once you get in, that you get plugged in with a committee and maybe get on the transportation committee with me and some of the other ones, because the TARC 3 and serving and getting to and from on time. There's a contract that I'm not sure if it's been reinstated or not, but at any rate, there's many opportunities for you to plug in, and there's some really, really good people. So thank you very much.
Excellent. I appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing that there aren't any, we are prepared to vote on this applicant. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next appointment on the agenda is the appointment of Tricia Rand to the Commission for Persons with Disabilities. Term expires December 12th, 2029. I need a motion.
Motion.
Properly move. Ms. Jackson?
So Tricia Wren works for the Commonwealth of Kentucky in the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, and where she is a district manager there. She has a Master's of Science in Social Work. She has years of experience in vocational rehab. She meets the criteria for this particular prescribed seat. She is here to introduce herself, but we are asking to move forward with her appointment.
Hello, I am Tricia Wren. I do appreciate you all allowing me to be here today, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Councilman Piaggiatini?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I've been blessed to work in this industry. I've worked for a prior employer who was one of the largest providers of services to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, so I'm familiar with a lot of the terminology. But if you could describe, if you don't mind, just really for everybody, what vocational rehabilitation is, that I think that would be helpful. Not everybody that, is up to speed on exactly what that is. I love your background, and I think it's going to be a huge addition to this commission. So, but if you could describe that in a sentence or two, just to give everybody a sense of what you're bringing to the table and what you're currently doing for the state, I think that'd be great.
Absolutely. I've been with vocational rehabilitation for over 20 years, so obviously I'm very passionate about it. But we serve people with disabilities. It could be physical, mental health, and/or learning differences. But our goal is to help them to obtain and maintain, regain, or advance in their employment goals, really just to help to achieve independence and self-sufficiency.
Terrific. Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, like I said, incredibly important part of this discussion, and I'm so glad to have you on the team. And thank you for volunteering to be a part of it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Councilman Reed?
Again, I'm on the board, and have been for several years, and very proud of. I've learned a lot, and I think it's been pretty enlightening. It really has.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to welcome you and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you for yours and everyone else.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, it looks like we're ready to vote on this applicant. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing that we have the next four, the same reappointment in the terms, We're going to take 4, 5, 6, and 7 together. First one is reappointment of Cal Hurwitz to the Kentuckiana Works Greater Louisville Workforce Development Board. Term expires July 28, 2028. The next one is reappointment of Ann Likens to the Kentuckiana Works Greater Louisville Workforce Development Board. Term expires June 30th, 2028. The next one is reappointment of Kim Blanding to the Kentuckiana Works Greater Louisville Workforce Development Board. Term expires June 30th, 2028. The next one is the reappointment of Jana Morton Reed to the Kentuckiana Works Greater Louisville Workforce Development Board. Term expires July 28, 2028. I need a motion.
Motion.
Properly moved. Ms. Jackson?
So Kentuckiana Works is our workforce development board. This board has all prescribed seats. This seat, let me back up. So they're all prescribed seat. Kyle Hurwitz is the director of the Center for Military and Connected Students with U of L. He was unable to be here this evening. He had a family emergency, but we do want to move forward with getting him reappointed. His role there is to connect students at U of L, and he has served 20 years career. He has a 20-year career in the U.S. Air Force, and he is filling the higher education seat. So we are asking to move forward with his reappointment. Ann Likens, Sonia, is she online? Okay. Okay, so she is the Chief People Officer with Bamboo Health. She is representing an employer of healthcare. She has years of global experience with HR management, team leadership and development, executive leadership, and organizational transformation. We would like to move forward with her as well. Kim Blanding is here in chambers tonight. She works for Norton Healthcare as a system director, talent and workforce. She has years of experience with talent acquisition and professional staffing. I'll ask Ms. Blanding to come up before I move forward.
Good evening. I'm Kim Blanding. Thank you for your time this evening, and I'm here and available if you have any questions for me.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you talk a little bit about the work that Kentuckiana Works does, particularly with some of the under-tapped talent pools in our community? I think particularly right now when we're seeing an exodus from the workforce, both from people aging out and also from some of the federal policies we're seeing. How are you guys responding to that?
Yeah, well, Kentuckiana Works, they operate the career centers, and so they do a lot of outreach to folks that come in, especially at the new Goodwill Opportunity campus that Norton Healthcare had the privilege to partner with. And so they do a lot of outreach, and there's a lot of programs, and they administer the federal dollars that enable, federal as well as city dollars, that enable individuals to go back to school and get training for in-demand careers. Thank you.
Councilman Lenager?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to thank Norton Healthcare. I know you're expanding, I think it's in Councilman Kramer's district, right? Is the new hospital going up over there? Yeah. And, I think healthcare is a massive, massive sector for, just Norton's individual contribution, but, looking forward to Kentuckiana Works continue to play a role in funneling people and getting people thinking about either second careers or re-educating themselves into anything related to healthcare. It's a huge issue, not just for our local hospitals and healthcare expansion, but just it's a huge opportunity for our citizens and for the city. So any continued focus on that would be appreciated as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. I'll be in touch. The next person is Jana Reed. She is employed, she is in a prescribed seat with the State Unemployment Office. That's the seat she's filling. She's employed by the Commonwealth of Kentucky, where she is the Regional Program Director. She, again, is filling the prescribed seat for the State Unemployment Office. She has years of experience with relationship building and with managing employees and training. She is here in chambers as well, and she will come and speak with you all.
Good evening. My name is Jana Martin Reed, and as she said, I'm the Regional Program Manager for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and I appreciate you considering my reappointment, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions? Comments? Councilman Reed?
I have no real comment other than the fact you have an exceptional last name. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your service.
You're welcome. Thanks for yours.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are ready to vote on the 4 reappointments. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. Our next 2 will be 8 and 9, with 8 being the reappointment of Michael Anderson to the Louisville Convention and Visitors Bureau. Term expires August 16th, 2028. The 9th on the agenda is reappointment of Ryan Bridgman to the Louisville Convention and Visitors Bureau. Term expires August 16th, 2028. I need a motion and a second, please. Properly moved. Ms. Jackson?
So the purpose of the Louisville for Tourism is to promote convention and tourist activity in Jefferson County. There are 10 members on this board. The mayor appoints 6, the governor appoints 3, and there's 1 ex officio which serves, and he is the president and he's the president and CEO of the Kentucky State Board. That's part of the statute. These members serve a 3-year term. So Mr. Michael Anderson is the president of Churchill Downs Racetrack. Of course, he has extensive experience in operations and finance management skills. He has strategic planning experience. I'm sure all of you guys know him anyway, but I'll ask him to come up and reintroduce himself to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Anderson, and I really appreciate the time and the commitment from the committee and your consideration for my reappointment. Are there any questions?
Can you pronounce your name again? The first one?
Mike Anderson.
Did you say Mike or Michael at first?
Mike.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I heard an accent. Okay, never mind.
Born and raised in Louisville. It's maybe to twang.
I didn't say that. I don't have any questions or comments. Does anyone? Of course. Councilman Piaggiatini.
Thank you very much for being here, and thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
continued service. I would like to take the opportunity, I think, I know it's gotten a lot of press, the move around the Oaks, and I attend the Oaks every year with my wife and some friends. I think it's great that we're doing anything to highlight this city on a national basis, and I think that's part and parcel of it. My advocacy would simply to be, just continue to think through how we can, how Churchill Downs, and I know you do, but continue to partner with local organizations, whether that's the hoteliers and the restaurants and all that too, so that, they all benefit from that notoriety as well. I know a lot's been made of it. I think it's a great thing overall. And I want you guys to continue to play a huge role in tourism and advocacy for the city. I just wanted to advocate for that opportunity, as you guys are thinking through your plans. Moving
Absolutely,
forward.
we will continue to do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your continued service. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Councilman McCraney?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. Every time I get in front of someone with the Tourism Board, or especially the Louisville Convention and Visitors Bureau, I have to say this. I said it in our last meeting because the subject came up about Kansas City. So I always want to talk about the importance of our highlighting our city. And so I was in Kansas City a couple of years ago, and they had this all-out city run for these big hearts. Imagine a big heart, and they were decorated, and different people were charged with creating the artwork on these hearts. And as a visitor, they encourage you to go around the city to identify these hearts and see how many you can find. And so I brought the idea back to Louisville and asked Louisville to consider doing that with horses, because we have a huge population of people who come in for family reunions. And so if we could create something where we can get a list of where all these horses are statues, and decorated up, if we can get a list that says it's in this location, they're on this location, they're in Prospect, they're downtown, and just identify all of the placements and have people to go around the city to identify them and put a whole plethora of them downtown, we could create quite a buzz. So I'm putting that in your ear. I'm just wanting you to carry my message. I'm going to talk about it every time I see one of you who serve on that board. So
Terrific, thank you. I think the Gallapalooza horses are a good
Yes.
start. There are a lot of those horse statues around town already that we can use that as a base for.
absolutely. Okay, I'm going to check with you in about 3 months.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam. Thank you. Thank you for all the ways that you continue to serve our community. I will just echo my colleague, Councilman Piagentini. Few issues since the creation of a pickleball and tennis center in Joe Creason Park have gotten the residents of the Highlands as fired up as the idea that the Oaks is going to end so late that people will not attend the restaurants along Bardstown Road. So I know you are a good corporate citizen. I would just encourage you to be thinking about that because it will have a huge impact and my people get feisty. So we would love to continue to talk to you about how do we continue to partner to support all these local businesses. And thank you again for your service.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Kramer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. While we're talking about bugs in ears and having specific groups in front of us, the Louisville Convention and Tourism is one that I'm always happy to have you guys in. I'm glad when you come. Thank you for your service. I should start there. A number of years ago, there was a good bit of conversation around how much tourism we actually draw and the benefits to Louisville and how that, all of us, of course, want that. Churchill Downs is a great example. We love being the showcase. And the party is awesome, and as if I have to tell you, right, for a whole month. But the reality is, things like that end up costing the city money. We have all these visitors come in, and we have to have extra ambulance service. We have to deal with police. The Parks Department has to move things around for all the festivals that go on. And all of that stuff has to be paid for. And when you look at how much money is driven into local government coffers, it doesn't even come close to paying the bills. Now, the restaurateurs do well, hoteliers do great. I know Churchill Downs does well, and we're happy about that. And I would never want to do anything that would see a decline or a challenge for our business community. But at the same time, it would be nice if there was some recognition from folks in the tourism business that we could use your help. Help us pay for some of the police, help us pay for some of the movement of, materials around that you guys need. I know we created the the TID district for hotels. This was a huge bone of contention for me with them, that there's not an understanding of how they can help us. I know that TID district had an impact on you guys in the tourism industry too. So asking you guys to help is kind of challenging because you're already somewhat limited in where the resources come from, and that actually limited your ability to grow some. But as you are doing your work on the board, and as those two things overlap with the hoteliers and the Commission Visitors Bureau, I'm asking everybody that's being appointed to these boards, please remember that Louisville loves the attention. We love having folks come to town, and we love the party. But like anybody else that throws a party, there's some expense. And it's very difficult for us to foot the bill all the time when we know how much money's coming in, and we're just hopeful that you guys can find a way to help us out. So I don't know exactly what that ask is. I just know as you all are having conversations on the board, please keep in mind that we could use your help covering the expenses.
Understand. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next person is Ryan Bridgman. Ryan is the president and CEO of Manna Inc. Manna operates over 250 restaurants across 7 brands throughout the United States. He oversees a franchise with over 9,500 employees. He's experienced in leadership and management and financing. He has a master's in business, variety of certifications, but he is here in the chambers, and I'll let him come and introduce himself, or reintroduce himself to you all.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Bridgman. Thank you all for your all service and time, and thank you for your consideration for my reappointment. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me just say, I only got to meet him a very tiny handful of times, but certainly I think on behalf of council, we just wanted to say our condolences since you're standing here related to your father. He was a great man. I don't know a person that says anything but glowing praise for him, particularly the people that knew him the best. So by extension, thank you for continuing to operate this terrific business and continue to participate in working and helping this city improve. So really appreciate your service, and just wanted to say our condolences to your father's passing.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd like to say likewise to his statement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilwoman McCraney?
Thank you, Councilwoman Chairperson. And I was going to echo the same sentiments. I really appreciate your service. You are just an example of what your father epitomized, and I am just so grateful to have you in this community and all the things that you do. So keep up the good work, and thank you so much. Unfortunately, you're in District 16. That's just quite next door to District 7, but I still appreciate you none the same.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. And you are in District 16, which is my district, and I had the very distinct honor and pleasure of meeting your dad years ago when he was a Papa John's franchisee, and I was a very minor Papa John's franchisee, but he was major and I was itty bitty bitty. But he treated me with like I was just as much stature as he did. So I never forgot that, and that was, 20 years ago. So I just wanted to tell you that. Just a great man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Kramer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What everyone said. I also am already on record, so I don't need to repeat the whole thing. But again, on that particular board, I would ask, please, that you keep us in mind as you're looking at how the revenue is being used.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. Will do.
Okay, there aren't any other comments or questions. I think that we're ready to vote on these two. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the reappointments, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. The next three, 10, 11, and 12, reappointment of Sean Killing to Waste Management District 109 Board. Term expires June 22nd, 2027. The next one is reappointment of Kenneth Andrew Reynolds to the Waste Management District 109 Board. Term expires June 22nd, 2027. The next one, reappointment of Alex Davison to the Waste Management District 109 Board. Term expires June 22nd, 2027. I need a motion. Properly moved, Ms. Jackson.
So, excuse me. So the Waste Management Board's purpose is to manage, control, and conduct the business activities and affairs of the Jefferson County Waste Management District. There are 7 members on this board, and per the statute, there is 1 seat for the waste industry rep. There's 1 seat for the Jefferson County League of Cities, 1 seat for the Urban Service District. There is an at-large member for the unincorporated area. There's a District A, District B, and District C. These appointments serve 2-year terms. The first one, Sean Keelan, he is the Jefferson County League of Cities rep. He is not here today, but we would like to move forward with his reappointment. So he is the Jefferson County League of Cities rep. He is the mayor of the city of Woodlands. He has experience with project management, leadership, research, and innovation. He has his master's of business administration. He's, again, in a prescribed seat. We would like to move forward with him. We have,
Because he's not here, he's a constituent. The city of Douglas Hills is in District 19. He's an outstanding leader of his city and does a great job representing on the 109 board. So just wanted to, because he's not here to answer any questions, just defend his renomination. He's a great person, a great add to this board. Thank you.
anybody else? So the second person is Kenneth Andrew Reynolds. He is the waste industry rep. He is with Waste Management Government Affairs. He is a manager there. He has experience with community building, experience in the waste industry with communications, and again, governmental and community affairs. We would like to move forward with his reappointment. He has been a good board member. He is not here, but we, again, would like to move forward with his reappointment. And any questions? The next person we have is Alex Davidson. She is filling the seat for District B. She is the executive director of the Food Literacy Project. She's out of Metro Council District 21. She has expertise and experience with leadership development, grant writing, oversight with operations and agency advancement. Ms. Davidson is here in chambers, and she will be happy to introduce herself to you, or reintroduce herself to you.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Alex Davidson. I appreciate you all considering my reappointment to this board, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Councilman Piaggiatini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm almost certain would know what Sean's answer would be. Mr. Reynolds isn't here, so I would like to maybe ask you, just think of this as advocacy, but also a question. I would like to hear your thoughts on this. I just want to make sure that or get your thoughts on anything the 109 board would do that could impact or attempt to take control away from suburban cities and HOAs that have existing relationships related to waste management and control it themselves. I just want to hear your thoughts about the board's role in potentially usurping that authority.
Are you kind of referencing the cost of services study that's been in the works?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
because there's been sort of an ebb and flow of conversation about this over many years, actually, regardless of this individual study, about, should there be a movement to, with the 109 board to sort of prescribe how waste services should be done, and that should supersede suburban districts, suburban cities, as well as potentially HOAs, and I just want to get your thoughts on that conversation.
Yeah, being part of the District B, Commissioner District B, I'm representing a large area of the city, which includes people with all kinds of waste management situations. And I will just say it's important to me to listen and to try to understand, like, where, personally, I live in the urban services district, so for me, everything's really straightforward. But it's important to me to listen and to understand where everyone is coming from before I form any kind of opinion. So I do think it's important to factor in, other, like the home rule cities and just how everyone's situations work differently. It's a complex system here in Louisville, and I certainly recognize that.
Yeah, let me advocate for this way then, because I appreciate you saying that you're still listening and trying to understand all the nuances. And I'm going to approve your nomination. I appreciate your continued service on this commission.
Thank you.
I think there's opportunities in unincorporated areas, like truly unincorporated areas. So I don't just mean suburban cities and the USD, but where there's not, I have a big section of my district, there's no HOAs, right? Or is there an opportunity to get group purchasing and get better arrangements for those folks? Maybe, right? I think the 109, there's a role to be played there. But I can tell you, even within the HOAs in the suburban cities within my district, they have not only established relationships and group purchasing agreements, but they also have direct relationships where they do customized services for their constituencies, if you want to call it that. And they don't want to lose that ability to customize how they build those relationships, right?
Okay.
So that's the fear, is that this board creates these larger geographic sort of purchasing groups, and then they can't negotiate directly on what they do, right? And they lose some of that competitive edge and ability to say, well, we're going to do special pickups on these days and do these things. So that's the fear, and I've heard that both. I have two suburban cities in Middletown and Woodland Hills, which Sean is the mayor of. So again, I kind of have a sense of what he might advocate here. But I also have a couple large HOAs that are also concerned about this.
Okay.
So yeah, we just want to make sure, and I'll concede that, look, if we did it universally across the whole county, right? Could we shave a dollar here, shave a dollar there? Maybe, right? I'm not conceding the economics, but I'm just saying, in many of these communities, it's more than just the economics.
Yeah.
So we just want to keep that in mind.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I
and
really appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
I almost forgot where we were. No. Councilman Kramer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to reiterate a good bit of what Councilman Piagentini offered. The study that you're talking about, the cost study that's being done, that's one piece of a much, much bigger question. I was curious, and I'm happy to hear your answer, your take on that. I think when, how do I say this? I'm a little bit concerned when a board has a direction that they feel like we should push towards and then create the steps to manipulate the data to make it sound like that's the only right choice. So I'm glad to hear you say you're going into this with an open mind. I take you at your word, so thank you for that. I will point out that there is a great deal more in this conversation than just cost. So even if you could make the argument, and I'm not willing to concede as completely as Councilman Piagentini is, even if you could make the argument that it's incredibly more efficient and cost-effective, what you would leave out is there are a large number of people in this community who very much appreciate the service that they have, and they're willing to pay whatever that service is.
Right.
I agree with the councilman that, there might be ways to help folks. I mean, one of the things we've done is organize neighborhood associations who can then negotiate and get a better deal. But in my efforts, in my district, what I have found is there are some neighborhoods and even some individuals that want a level of service beyond anything that I'd be willing to pay for. And there's no way I'm paying somebody to come into my backyard to take my garbage can out to the street. I'm just not doing it. But if I have a constituent and that's what they want and they're willing to pay for that, I have a really, really hard time philosophically making an argument that that should not be available to them. And I also worry about what happens to smaller businesses as you go down that road. Look at what's happened. Again, I know you guys are going to consider everything, but please ask them during those discussions if you can see what has happened in other cities, other communities where they've gone down this road. And what you're going to find is, overwhelmingly, the smaller waste haulers tended to go away over a period of years. They literally put people out of business because let's face it, they can't compete with the big guys. And a lot of times those smaller waste haulers were the ones offering the niche services that a larger organization doesn't seem to think is important. So again, thank you for being open-minded. Please be aware there's a lot more to talk about than just a report that somebody asked for. And keep in mind that while you might live in the urban service district, I live in an unincorporated area of Jefferson County, and Councilman Piagentini lives in a suburban city. So there are a lot of different people in Louisville. HOA, I'm sorry. Councilwoman McCraney lives in a suburban city. There are a lot of folks here who have a lot of different experiences, and I just am hopeful that the board keeps that in mind.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm happy to hear from anyone anytime about their opinion. It really is helpful. Personally, I haven't established my opinion yet about how we should move forward. I'm reading and learning and listening, so yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. I can say with relative confidence that that wasn't always the case with some of our members on that board.
Understood.
Councilman Reed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And District 16 has 14 suburban cities. We probably have more HOAs. I've not counted, but if I did count, it's probably in the hundreds. And some of these, and actually Councilwoman McCraney has the most suburban cities, but I've had mayors and HOA presidents reaching out to me because they're very concerned. So I'm going to advocate for them, and I'm going to really watch this because I think, personally, I think it would be not good for a good portion of our city. And I've heard a lot about economies of scale, and, I always feel as though that's it's good to say that, but in the end, when you're limiting competition, and you're limiting yourself to one or two major suppliers, then ultimately prices go up. A good example of that, we all heard about, U.S. Airway buying Eastern, and then American Airlines buying U.S. Airway. The prices have gone up and service is bad. So I'm going to be very interested in how this shakes out. So, and I'm very supportive of you, by the way, and I appreciate the fact that you're coming in here with an open mind. So, but I wouldn't be representing my constituents if I wasn't really leery about this. So, thank you.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts. I do appreciate it.
Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
We're ready to vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? The ayes have it. Our last appointment is reappointment of Troy Miles to the Waterfront Development Corporation. Term expires July 31st, 2029. I need a motion. Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
The purpose of the Waterfront Development Board is to act as an agency, excuse me, to act as an agency with constituted authority of the Commonwealth and Metro government in the acquisition, implementation, and financing of public property. The Waterfront Development Corporation will review and develop activities within the waterfront purview. The board consists of 15 members. The state appoints, so the governor appoints 6 directors, including 1 representative from the governor's office. The mayor appoints 9 directors, and then the mayor sits on there, and 1 council member, which is typically the council president. Troy Miles, we're asking for his reappointment. He is out of Metro Council District 12. He's African-American male Republican. He was unable to be here today, but we are asking to move forward with his reappointment. He is the general manager with Word Media. He has his Master of Arts in Arts and Sociology. He's experienced with promotions and advertising and marketing. We are asking to move forward with his reappointment.
So he's not here to answer questions?
He was unable to be here. He was away on vacation.
Councilman Kramer?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Please pass along how grateful we are to him for the skill set that he brings to the Waterfront Development Corporation. I think most of us recognize and understand, for the listening public's benefit, I will say the Waterfront Development Corporation is a separate entity. It's not a part of the Parks Department. And so there is always a challenge for them to get the resources they need to do the kinds of, to present the park that they present, which is absolutely awesome. And so having someone with his background in marketing to help kind of bridge that gap and make it clear to the public that this is really an amenity worth supporting, not just with our tax dollars, but with, individual private support. So again, really appreciate his background and recognize that that will be a tremendous benefit, has been and continues to be a tremendous benefit for the Waterfront Development Corporation.
Are there any other comments, questions? Okay. All those in favor of this appointment, say aye.
Aye.
Any oppositions? The ayes have it. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Our next line of business is a discussion on procurement and the procurement process. I think we have Mr. Joe Level here today.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good
We have some
evening.
prepared remarks. It's okay. Chair Purvis, Vice Chair Piagentini, members of the committee, my name is Joe Neaveill. I'm the Executive Director of Procurement for Louisville Metro Government. I appreciate the chance to talk to you about how we manage purchasing, contracts, and public resources on behalf of the community. Our office's scope is very broad. We oversee competitive bids, purchase orders, non-competitive contracts, the Metro P-Card program, employee travel, contract administration, and the management of surplus property. In short, if Metro buys it, contracts for it, or disposes of it, our office is responsible for making sure that the process is fair, transparent, and accountable. So sometimes people use the terminology purchasing and procurement interchangeably, but they're very different. Let me use a road trip analogy. Procurement is the strategy, it's the planning of how to go from place to place, planning a whole trip, deciding destinations, budget, comparing travel options. Purchasing, on the other hand, is the transaction. Think of filling the gas tank in your car on the way to that trip. It's the transaction, it's the actual purchase of that. So every purchase is a part of procurement, but procurement is more than just purchasing. So I was asked to talk about kind of the approaches and thresholds. So we have in Metro 3 different thresholds for purchasing, and they're determined by denominations. So under $5,000, there's a departmental delegated authority that they can make purchases. Typically, that's done by a PO or a P-card purchase. Examples might be like public works, safety vests, or office supplies, or small equipment repair at park. Secondly, there's informal quotes, which is between the $5,000 and $40,000 level. So this is where we require quotes, but it doesn't go through the process or the full formal process. Some of you may recall the vandalism at Shawnee Park about a month ago, right before the Dirt Bowl tournament. So Parks did a great job. This is a great example of that. They went out and got 3 quotes to do the work, and at least 3 quotes for the resurfacing. And within a matter of a couple of weeks, that repair was completed successfully before the Dirt Bowl championship. That's an example of a 3 quote. And then anything over $40,000 is a formal solicitation. That's going to be your bids and RFPs. So you'll see roadway paving, custodial services for facilities, and major technical systems. So this structure ensures that we balance efficiency for smaller purchases with rigorous competition for larger ones. Procurement method, the foundation of public procurement is competition. That is our default approach, is competition, competitive bidding. Competition ensures fairness, guards against favoritism, and delivers the best value for taxpayers. So 3 methods that we typically will use is the bidding process, used when scope is clear. Price is the deciding factor. So that's how we approach the paving contracts. So requests for proposals are used when qualifications, expertise, or approach matter in addition to cost. One real example is you can see the lighting here. If I wanted to say, I want to replace this lighting, then that would be a bid. But if my goal is to figure out, I want to reduce the energy consumption by 20%, tell me how to do that, that's a proposal. And that's why we use an RFP. These are methods we rely on most. In fact, out of our 1,000 active contracts, 92% were awarded through a competitive process. That statistic underscores our commitment to open, fair, and transparent procurement. There are limited cases where competition is not practical or possible. When only one vendor can provide the goods or service, that's a sole source. You may be familiar with the zoo's carousel, that conservation carousel that was built in 1919. The business, original manufacturer went out of business. They sold it to another company. That company owns all the molds and the repair system. Of course, we're going to contract with that contractor to make sure that we get those repairs done consistent with the original manufactured specifications. There's also certain professional services that are highly specialized consultants, perhaps, where qualifications outweigh price. And of course, there are emergency purchases as well for urgent needs where delay would risk public safety or critical operations. The most recent example I can point to for an emergency purchase is when the mayor-governor declared a disaster associated with the spring floods. There was a critical issue with the stream bank stabilization in Harrods Creek. We worked with the United States Department of Agriculture and Natural Conservation Resource Service to take advantage of a program. And they, in their minds, also saw this as an emergency, and we contracted with the company to start that stabilization. So to put a house building analogy, most of the time you would get multiple bids for contracts to build a building. That's our competitive process. But if your roof's collapsed during a storm, you call that contractor who's available that night. That's an emergency. Or if you have a unique custom feature only one supplier can make, that's sole source. All are legitimate, but it's the exception, not the rule. So in closing, every action that we take is grounded in 3 values: fairness, every vendor has a level playing field; transparency, the public can see how decisions are made and why; and accountability, we manage taxpayer dollars responsibly to ensure a contract delivers value. Our office is committed to continuous improvement, expanding vendor outreach, shortening cycle times, and making processes more efficient. We're not just stewards of process, we are stewards of public trust. Thank you, and I welcome any questions.
I'm sure there's going to be some questions for you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Some of this stuff may be over our heads, so excuse us.
And Madam Chairman, if I could also just call out our able staff from Public Works is also here in case there are some more practical, on-the-ground discussions about.
Sure.
Yeah, thank
Sure. If you want them to come up?
you. As needed.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm gonna let my colleagues go first. You don't have any questions? Councilman Liniger?
You can't use the new card anymore. That's official.
Councilman JJ? What did he say? What did he say?
He said he's new here. He said the same thing JP did. It's brilliant.
Councilman Reed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, and I'm not sure how closely you're involved with regard to suppliers for sidewalk repair and paving. One of the things that we've been told many times is that we have a real lack of qualified contractors that will do sidewalks and will do paving, and that's one of the reasons why we tend to get backed up because of schedules. Is this something that you're involved in? And is there a reason why we have such few numbers of suppliers that can do contract work for infrastructure?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. It's brought to my attention when there are issues that arise. And so if there's contracting issues related to performance, or there is disagreement between contractors and the departments, our office will get involved. You know, we gauge interest based upon, or we gauge the market based upon level of interest in our bids. And so going back to just some of the bids, we had 5 bids from paving contractors. We had 140 invitees. We have 42 companies who download the documents, designated that's our indication that there's level of interest there. But actually 5 submitted bids. I believe our last time we went out with this bid, we attempted to divide it in regions to spread some of the work. In those 2 different regions, the highest ranked contractor was the same one, so they were awarded both sections. So essentially, they have the city. So we also provide backup contracts as well in case they get at capacity. But it really is about management of the contractor, management of the work, and that's typically done at the department level. So in terms of, I can speak to the level of interest in the actual bid and the award, but in terms of the allocation of resources to complete the work, that would be a department.
Okay, so you said that we had over 100 that showed interest and only 5 that actually submitted bids.
That's correct.
Did they give you, the ones that did not submit quotes or bids, did they give you a reason why? Is there a survey that goes out and said, what made you not interested in completing the process?
Typically, we will follow up if there is a lack of response, but we would say that 5, for the amount of work that's done, you have to have enough capacity to do the work. I'm talking paving is particular.
No, I understand.
Yeah. But you have to have the capacity to do the work, and part of that evaluation is how much capacity do they have to take on the work that you all are appropriating more and more dollars every year to do the work. So I'm not saying that the legacy approach to bidding for paving and sidewalk works is the way in which we need to go forward. I think it's a great opportunity now to take a fresh look at the way in which we bid out contracts, because we only get what we ask for. And so in our specifications, we need to be more, or be very clear on our approach and expectations in terms of delivery time and making sure that everybody has, the work is done.
Well, and speaking of that, and this will be my last question, and I'm not sure if this is a question for you or necessarily a Director Kern. If a supplier or a contractor has a contract and they have a specific time frame in which to execute the contract, and they don't, is there a mechanism by which it goes to supplier B?
Yes, yes. In the paving contract in particular, I'm going to call for memory, but they have a certain window of time in order to accept that work. And then the department then has the ability to move on to the next contract.
Do they have a specific amount of time to actually perform the work?
Performance, I can't speak to. And I can't recall if there's anything in the contract that speaks to the amount of performance, but oftentimes what we will see is that there is lag because of weather, because of inspector availability, and that's more of the day-to-day management of those contractors that I wouldn't be able to speak to.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Councilman Kramer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your opening, you commented that one of the primary reasons for the conversation around procurement is getting competitive bids, and then in your answer to Councilman Reed, you mentioned capacity. I've been here for a little while, and I'm curious how we would define our success at either one of those things. When I look at how much it costs us, for example, to build a restroom in a public park, granted, a restroom in a public park needs to be a little bit more, I don't know, resilient. I don't know if you can claim a restroom as resilient, but it needs to be built to a different standard. That makes sense. But when you look at what it costs us to build a restroom in a public park, it's just embarrassing. And part of the reason, of course, is there are only so many companies that will bid on that. When we look at sidewalks, again, we have a very small number of companies. So you said one. We broke it into two regions and said, the same contractor applied to both. You talk about capacity. It's one thing to have the capacity to build and repair X number of linear feet of sidewalk. It's another thing to have the capacity to take on the city's entire need for sidewalks. I have to wonder if when we put these things out to bid, if we're not shooting ourselves in the foot when it comes to competitiveness by insisting on capacity. I dare say there are small companies in town that could absolutely build a restroom in a public park that would meet any standard that we set, but they can't build a bunch of them. They might only build in a period of time. They may only have enough staff. They may only have enough capacity to do a small number of jobs. So my question in here is, from your perspective, do you see where our efforts at capacity are interfering with our goal of competitiveness?
Great question. I think that if something isn't working in many people's eyes, that it's good to take a different approach. And I think we should always, anytime that we have a contract coming up for renewal or it's a mandatory rebid, we should always review what is our approach. Just don't take it off the shelf of what we did last time and then put it back out and expect different results, right? So I think that it really requires the departments to say, let's break this down a little bit, and if we want to just do a contract for this particular bathroom at a park, let's bid that out separately rather than relying on our annual contractors to say, hey, fit us into the schedule, you've got whenever you got capacity, and we'll take whatever price that you give us. There has to be somewhere where we're like, okay, let's bid this out. There was another question related to not parks, but
sidewalks.
Sidewalks is the same way. Yeah, right now is a great opportunity, I think, within Public Works to take a refresh look at the way in which those are built. And there are different procurement mechanisms and methods that you can choose to pursue that might come up with different results, but you don't know unless you try. But one thing's for sure is you're probably going to just get the same results if you just go back to the shelf and pull it off and then send it back out.
Our hope, of course, is that as you guys continue to talk about procurement, you would recognize that the two things you mentioned just now sometimes actually create a problem for each other. And so the hope is that we'll look through, try to find some way around that. Councilman Reed asked if there were, other reasons. I would, and I don't want to get into a public, opportunity to, slam the way that some things have been done in the past. We have a new mayor. He's made lots of different kinds of decisions. I think we've seen some real improvement. But I would encourage, when you talk about procurement, that we go back and look at some of the reasons that folks in the past have been hesitant to enter into relationships with the city of Louisville. Because we have, I think, opportunities to improve in that area, and would likely be able to get folks willing to enter into agreements with us today that 5 years ago would not have. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll let you. I'll let you do all the work to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, that's an absolutely great point. And we're always looking for ways to demystify the process, try to bring people to, let's recognize the fact that, we had payment issues, we were paying people late, and that's been resolved. And what we're looking to do is, you have to have trust and credibility. And if you don't have either of those, you're not going to have business partners. And so we're doing on the finance and OMB side, trying to make sure that payments are being made properly. So that helps us with our reputation, and that will help us gain more interest.
Thank you. I really appreciate your willingness to make it clear. I don't want the public to think I'm trying to cover something over, but to your point,
it's clear.
That was a very real concern. Folks were doing the work, and it took them forever to get paid.
Yep.
And if you weren't a big enough company to pay your employees and to hold on to that debt, there were companies that really struggled mightily just to make the bills.
Yeah.
Because Louisville wasn't paying on time. So I'm really grateful to hear that that's already been addressed. And I would hope that John Q. Public, who's listening, understands that if they're interested in doing contract work with Louisville, we are open for business, and we're anxious to get that taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Level, can you tell me how many contractors do we have for sidewalks, speed humps, paving? And I think someone told me that you all have like secondary contractors. I'm just trying to figure out how does that work, because I know that a lot of times we've been told there's one contractor, but if that load becomes overwhelming for that one contractor, and say you got, say you have about 40 sidewalks that you need, and your main contractor is already working on 80 sidewalks, does that mean that the secondary contractor automatically gets those jobs? How does that work?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And I'll just peel back a little bit of history. In 2009, the state auditor's office came and had a finding with the Metro government. It said that Louisville Metro was pooling vendors, and that was against KRS 45A, which is the model procurement statute that we follow. And so many people talk about pooling of vendors. That would make it a lot easier, but it's against the law in accordance to the state auditor's office. And so they went with a rank system, a primary, secondary, even tertiary, should you need it. And what that gives is a kind of a first right of refusal for that primary contractor for the work. They have to acknowledge that they cannot do the work in order to then move on to the second. Now, there are some times where we have to sit down with contractors and just say, look, you're saying yes to all this work, but you don't have the capacity and you're not doing it for fear of losing the work. There's a fear that maybe they won't be given any more work in the future. I think just clarity, communication about, we have an obligation to fulfill the work that the council has appropriated money for to get that done, and you need to be a partner with us and help us. And part of that is saying, just being realistic when you can't do the work, give it to somebody that else can, that we already have on contract.
What I'm concerned about, in my area, we have a great need for speed humps. And I know that we're going to try something new on one of my streets, but what I'm concerned about is us having that one contractor that does speed humps. I feel like that one contractor has a blank check, and there's no competition. And I think, I think to get a better use of taxpayers' dollars, We need more than one contractor, and we need more competition in that area, because when I first came on the council, I think speed humps were like $2,000, and now they're close to $5,000.
4,200,
I'm sorry,
4,200,
say that again.
4,200.
Yes.
Yes.
It's close to 5,000
Yes, it is.
than 2,000.
Correct, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Do what? And the signs, right. So it's getting very expensive for speed humps, and everybody wants them. But with us having that one contractor, I would like to be that contractor that just, hey, oh yeah, I'm getting ready to go put the speed hump. You know, it's like a monopoly. And so I feel like we have to do something to get better use of taxpayers' dollars, because it's not fair to let this one company have a blank checkbook. So can you help me out?
I think again, I'll go back to my statement about this is a perfect opportunity to work with Public Works on a refresh look at how we allocate work for speed humps. I think that the way in which it's structured right now, it was a stopgap measure to fulfill some requirements. I think there's a lot of restructuring within Public Works right now. I think they're very open to restructuring the opportunity. I think if we do that, we could see more competition for that work, and probably a more focused effort to getting those projects done. And who knows, maybe also potentially self-performing that work as well.
So will we see that?
I think in partnership with Public Works, I think we would likely look at that as a new, when that contract is up, I think that would be a great opportunity to redo that, bid that out separately.
I think that would help. So, Councilman Leniger and Councilman JJ, but then I'm going to come back to you on something else.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess, and I feel like I know what your answer is going to be, and that's, when this contract is up, this is an excellent time to partner with Public Works and reimagine how we're doing this. But I guess I would like, as a follow-up to the example with the bathrooms in parks, where it's, we've got it by we've got the entire system contract, but, maybe, if we're overburdened, we need this one, maybe we bid it out individually. I do think that there maybe could be a happy middle ground, where instead of, for paving, for example, or sidewalks, where we've got the city divided in half, and we've got a process that is not as competitive as we would like. As you mentioned, we have placed a far greater demand on services over the years for paving. And I think that we should probably be looking at just more districts, more smaller districts that are part of how we're bidding this out. Because truly, getting only 5 bids on such an amount of work, I don't feel that that's competitive, and I don't think that you do either. And I think that we could especially where we end up in a situation where not only is it only 5 bids, we only end up with one contractor for both districts. I think that maybe we, as pointed out by several members of the council, we should be looking at ways to increase that not on the end of who's bringing in these bids, but rather what we're asking in terms of collecting those bids.
You make a great point, council member. I will say that we have to balance that also with management of the contracts as well. So I think in the past, Public Works has proposed to bid out in multiple 5, 6 different regions, and it became onerous on Public Works to manage each of those with the current, at the staff level and the approach that they had in managing that many contractors for the city. I can't speak to the whys or which or the program implementation, but that is a consideration when working with departments about what their plans are for providing that service.
Well, I'm certainly sympathetic, but we also have a reality where we are, many years behind in some of our basic infrastructure needs in the city, and everyone has made a commitment from the Metro Council, from the administration, that we're going to do better and we're going to catch up on this backlog. But fundamentally, nothing we can promise is going to solve that problem if the contractors are not meeting the need. And so we have to figure out how we're going to do that, and I think this is an important part of that.
And I'll just say, as part of the administration supporting Public Works, and we will do whatever we can to reduce that backlog. And if there's something that we can do on the contracting side to help them enable to do that, we will do that.
Am I good to go? Thank you. I still feel as if the questions that the chair asked weren't necessarily answered in regards to how many bids we've had and whatnot that have gone out for the speed humps, for the sidewalks. Do we have a set number of bids when it comes to how many people applied to be able to do this? How many times? I don't know that numerically we ever got an answer out of that question.
Thank you. There was not a separate bid for just speed hump. It's part of another contract that was amended to accomplish the speed hump. That's why I think, as the chair pointed out, it's a good opportunity to go ahead and bid that out for the next round.
So how many companies shown interest in speed humps this last cycle, and how long ago was that?
There was not a bid for speed humps. It was part of a paving project, a paving contract for, I think, all-terrain paving has that contract.
So then can you convince me, or any member of the council, I guess, that there is not a monopoly right now on speed humps?
I'm not sure that I follow. The monopoly means that there's nobody else that can.
There's no competition.
There is no competition. That is who Public Works uses right now for speed hump implementation.
And that's been how long?
Since January.
Because part of the issue that I see in this regards to the speed hump issue is it's definitely the issue that's bankrupting our districts the most when it comes to our district funds to be able to help out. And, when I come into office and we're told that typically the process is a 50-50 split, while all districts are equal, not all districts are socioeconomically equal. And the policy doesn't necessarily work. And what we're being told is if your street has money to help pay for a speed hump, we can have a speed hump. But if your street doesn't have people that financially are in a decent spot to be able to help, then you're kind of out of luck unless your council district pays for the whole thing. If we get 4 speed humps on a district, four speed humps on one street, that's 20% of our entire CDF, if you will, to be able that 100,000 that we're allotted. And I can't think that a 50-50 split makes sense in every single district the same way. And I'm thinking in my own district, there are streets where that street could not afford a 50-50 split. So we're basically being told, it seems as though, that either financially, like you almost have to sacrifice safety for finances. Like if you don't have money to be able to help afford it and your district can't afford it, then you're kind of out of luck. But if you happen to live on a street that has people that are wealthy enough to be able to finance a speed hump, then by all means you can support that speed hump. And I just feel like that financially we are putting our people in a spot that it's the haves and the have-nots. That it's when I come from education and I teach in JCPS, and there are certain schools that have 10-20% fee waiver while you have certain schools that are hitting 80 and 90%. And the needs for one school and the needs for another school are completely different. And this one-stop approach just doesn't seem like that it fits all of our districts equally. And certainly I have a big concern when I know that most of us would love to be able to help, but we're in this holding pattern of what can we do? And when I have people that talk about speed humps, that's the number one request probably. And the thing I tell them is that if you want a speed hump today, you're looking at least a year to a year and a half for you to ever see a speed hump on your road. I don't know. Again, just coming in fresh out of this, and maybe I don't understand everything in the procedure-wise, but it certainly feels like something's twisted and broken here. And I've got a lot of concerns in regards to the speed hump process because I know that this ain't the answer to everything when it comes to speed and safety and whatnot. And I know that every street has kids. But when I want to be able to help our district, and safety-wise is a big piece, and I'm being told that basically if they can afford 50% unless you want to fund it all, that's the best that we can do. It puts me in a bad spot. It puts all of our districts in a bad spot. And then we look at, for example, when we have the tennis courts redone, and we see a map, and if I'm not mistaken, the Sun Valley bathrooms were over $700,000 to take care of that, to take care of a bathroom. I could buy a couple houses for that. This just doesn't seem, as a new person, this just doesn't seem to make sense to me financially while we're driving up the cost. And I'm almost at a thought where they drive up the cost so much because they know the city will pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And they can drive up whatever cost. I was talking on a personal level about getting new windows put in a house. And I had a contractor that basically told us that, hey, we will make the price what we want to make the price, so hopefully they won't take it. But we'll make it so outlandishly high that ultimately, if they want to take it, they're going to pay for it. And I'm sorry, that kind of feels, when I hear $4,200 a speed hump, and a speed hump for 4 with signs is going to be nearly $20,000, and I look at an over $700,000 bathroom in the south end, something just feels off in this. And yeah, I don't know if more competition is what is needed on the speed humps, but even when you said that you would have potentially a commitment with Public Works to get a refreshed look of speed humps, when does that look like? When can we keep Public Works, I guess, accountable that we can have a new system in place?
Well, I think we can talk and agree that we're on the same page. We can start working right now if that's on the game plan, but we have to make sure that we're honoring our current contract to make sure that it is that these are kind of year-to-year contracts, so that we can identify when that contract is up, and then we can rebid it when that concludes.
So when would be a good time for us to be able to email and ask, do we have a new system put in place?
Part of that is, I can't answer that because I'm not in the programming sector for Public Works, but I imagine that if it's a priority for them, they will make it a priority, and we can.
Who can answer that, if you cannot answer that? Would that be Director Kern?
I think he's asking, when does the Riverside contract expire?
Oh,
Do we have that? And I can expand on that.
yeah, if you wouldn't, I don't think I have it.
If you have it handy, because that would probably be the best time as far as honoring the contract.
Yeah. Riverside, December 7th.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I mean, I can speak to that. So the company that currently installs speed humps is Riverside. When I first started, there was a big concern around how long it took to get speed humps installed. And part of the holdup was we didn't have a timeline on our contractors. They could tell us 6 months. They don't make a lot of money on these, or they didn't at the time, and they just kind of would do them when they got to them. And that was unbelievable to me, that why even have a contract if you have no expectation or understanding of when the contractor would actually do the work. So I asked staff to look at, hey, we have to put some kind of timeline. If you get notice to proceed, yes, there's weather, yes, temperatures can drop below where you can do work, but we have to have something in place. So there was locking in that price point to get the performance that we could rely on, instead of having speed humps go on for 6 months. So as far as the cost as well, we have other contracts. Right now, the contractor who performs that also does our alley paving. So it is, as Joel mentioned, that is wrapped into that contract. There are other contractors that we have, in fact, asked for pricing for speed humps. They're substantially more expensive. So within the actual contracts we have right now, that is the lowest cost contract. That contract does expire later in December. So that is one that, to Joel's point earlier, we need to look forward, because as he pointed out, the way that we have done things, and I've been very, very open about this, especially on sidewalks, what we have done for the last 10 years is obviously not working as well as it could, and we have to look at that. So within the DOT, some of the things that we've looked at are sidewalks, And I think I spoke at budget about the different ways that we touch sidewalks. We touch sidewalks in 10 different ways. None of those ways are connected. None of those ways show up on the same map. That's insane. You're never going to balance efficiency and capacity if you are sending contractors 10 different ways to do, 5 different scopes for different groups. So that is something that is a focus of the DOT. And then also reevaluating procurement. We had a staff member who had to leave, but is meeting regularly to look at procurement. They're working with Joel's staff to figure out ways to do it better. Because part of it is managing our contractors. How are we managing contractors? And how do we really get a good gauge? Because yes, we want to try something new, definitely. But figuring out where really are the pain points. Because what we've talked about here are kind of symptoms. And we have to take a closer look and figure out what is actually happening and where's the breakdown occurring. So I think it will be some combination of how we're managing our contractors, zones that we have for contractors, and procurement. I think it will ultimately be a mix of all of those things. So I think that's a couple of the questions that came up with respect to Public Works. It is something that we are working on in an ongoing way. We know is a problem. It's been a problem for a decade. It's not going to get fixed overnight, but I think that we do have some near-term real opportunities to look at ways to correct it. So bidding out, if we're going to, if the contract right now we're using for speed humps is up, I think that's definitely a good point, is we could put out a separate bid for speed humps, but we have to figure out how are we going to, really what is the totality of the work that's in queue? How much capacity do we need? What do we need to spec when we put that out? Because we've never put out a bid for specifically just speed humps, to my knowledge. So that is definitely something that we can work on near term.
Near term meaning it's January?
Well, this fall, yeah. So the contract expires
Right.
in December.
Right.
So it would be a near-term contract that we would need to be working on immediately.
So when the whole, and Councilwoman Bass, if you were going to talk about this, I apologize, but with that bathroom, was that the cheapest? That $700,000 plus bathroom, was that the cheapest quote?
I'm not familiar with that particular project.
Okay.
Was this a Parks? Yes, Sun Valley. Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with that particular project.
It was in Sun Valley. They put in 4 individual bathrooms out there, and it came in as one of the highest quotes, I guess. All the other parks who had similar things put in, it was astronomically higher than all the other areas. So we didn't know the reasoning behind that. And it had come up a few times, so.
So I wanted to piggyback on Councilman JJ, and thank you for going a little deeper than me. I depend on you. Yeah. But I wanted to say, we're talking about this contract is going to be terminated December 31st. But now is the time to start writing out a new RFI, request for information. It says you have a 4.14 at-will termination, notwithstanding the above provisions. Metro government may terminate this contract at will in accordance with the law upon providing 30-day written notice of the intent. So you don't really have to wait until the contract expires, because I'm going to be honest with you, all those speed humps are not installed properly. If you all go and do an audit throughout some of these neighborhoods, all of these speed humps are not installed properly. Now, I'm going to say this. I know this is not something you all want to hear, but I'm disappointed in Public Works not being a little more aggressive and getting people that can do the same, can provide these services more cost effectively. How many paving companies do you work with? You're saying that the other ones, the prices were high. How would we know? We have not seen these prices. I would like to know, when you put this out to bid, I want to see your competitive bidding. I know it will probably be an evaluated bid, but I want to see it. Because this company that's doing these speed humps, I have a feeling they're the only ones that was offered the opportunity to do speed humps. And going from 2,000 to 4,200, I mean, to put down 4 speed humps on a stretch of 2 blocks, almost $18,000, that is, we don't have the money.
Yeah,
And people not looking at you all, they're looking at us.
I'm in the queue.
Okay. So, hold on. So I need to we got to do better than this. And you've been in this business for a long time. You know we have to do better than this.
I think it's in everybody's best interest to always look at things with fresh eyes and take a different approach. I think this is in particular one of those cases.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to seeing those bids. Councilman JJ and I. Councilwoman Hawkins, 1 second. Councilwoman McCraney was first. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for being here, Joel. As was stated earlier in this meeting, I represent a district that has the most suburban cities. I have 19. And could you tell me what your process is when you are paving a street? I happen to have a district, let's say Moreland, the city of Moreland. There are streets in the city of Moreland that are a part of Linden, but then half the same street is Louisville Metro. So when you're paving a street, do you coordinate with the city that the rest of the street is represented? Because I got a lot of complaints that half the street was paved, the rest was ignored because the two cities didn't coordinate. So have you ever heard of that? Did you know of that situation?
Councilmember Craney, I'm going to defer to Public Works because that's more of a...
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, so I think that's certainly a great idea to coordinate with the small cities. And that's certainly something that we can look at as we are staffing up, which while moving contractors forward would be great, we have to have the staff to administer those contracts. So with the DOT, we are still in the process of staffing up. So that is something as far as that additional coordination that would take a person to do. And that's not to say we can't do it. Now, that being said, if the small city is going to delay paving, but we feel like the road needs to be paved, we're going to go ahead and pave it. So it could be that, you know, if our budget doesn't align with their budget, but we feel like we need to address something to maintain our infrastructure, at some point, we're not going to be able to delay to match those.
Okay, I can understand that. But so if that ever happens again, can you give me heads up? Because I have to answer to those constituents, and it really does not matter to them whose budget didn't match up with what city. They just want the same amenities that the rest of the street received. So if that is ever going to happen again, I would love to know.
So one of the things we're also working on is modernizing every single thing that we do because we are very far behind as far as modernization within the department. We are moving to an asset management software, and a lot of that will make, well, the whole point is that it will make our paving plan a map. Historically, it's been an Excel sheet, which is impossible to navigate and to understand, hey, this bumps up against a small city. So that will be something that we can now see on a map and see where those gaps are going to be so that we can address those better. So yes, that is something that will become much more visible to staff and obvious.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Councilwoman Hawkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, one of the things that I'm gonna echo all my colleagues. It just seems like I want to first say that Public Works has been doing a phenomenal job. Kayla, the new person, has been doing great. The issue that my office has been having is, you know, why is it that we only have one contractor? We've been having one contractor for quite some time. Why is it that we cannot have multiple contractors? And I'm a firm believer that the reason why that this contractor continues to handicap us is because we're only using them. You know, and if you have February 2nd, if you have a contractor and you're only we only can use them. Of course, their prices is gonna just be sky high because they're in a contract with us. I think that we should have a few contracts. If you have one company doing the entire city speed humps, I mean, the only, people that suffer is the community. I have a lot of money just sitting right now, waiting for speed humps. And even before me, speed humps are coming that Jessica Green had paid for way before me. They still not done, or they're just getting done. That makes no sense. I do agree with my colleague, Councilwoman Purvis. It's not a reflection of you all. It is a reflection of the council person. It makes it look like that we have been negligent. And for the most part, you know, our districts, we pay for ours. I would hate to be, a district that they pay half and the HOA pays the other half. But it doesn't matter whether the HOA and the district pays half or the council person pays for all of it. It still is a horrible process, and it just takes too long. And I'm wondering, why are we just handicapped to one person doing these speed humps? It makes no sense. We should have multiple contracts with different people in different areas doing these speed humps. It sounds like to me, and I'm just going to say it, none of my colleagues have said it, but I've been hearing it for years that, there's been kickbacks going on. And if it is, so be it. But we need these speed humps done. Period. We need them, and that's why they overpriced. Period, point blank. I don't care nothing about what happened before me, but, we need our speed humps done expeditiously. 2 and 3 years taking all that time. I don't know what the people before us didn't stand for, but I ain't standing for it. So, the new contractor that we get, we need to put some fire underneath of them. So my question is it anything that is stopping us from getting multiple contracts?
Thank you, Councilmember. I think as we've discussed today, speed hump contract is imminent to be rebid. When we put together the specification, the requirements, we'll work with Public Works on how to allocate the work. But really, it is a lot on the department to prioritize, identify what funding is available, what projects occur and get put in place. We can set up the contract vehicle and the mechanism, but then it's the management of the contractors, therefore, to as you mentioned, expeditiously do the work.
Right, and I agree with that part. But we had Greg Dow, I think it was his name, who did it for years by himself. Right, I really think that it probably needs to be multiple people in there working, trying in different. The mayor did west, east end, and south end. Split it up. I don't care how you do it, but the one contractor thing, it just sounds shady to me. One contractor doing the entire city is not working for me, myself, or my colleagues. It's just not working.
Understood, and we hear you. Again, it kind of also goes back, I'm not defending it at all, but has been attempts to split up by geographic regions. We've awarded geographic regions. Sometimes we run into contractors who end up dropping out or not not having the capacity to do so. So the other contractors have to step up, and there are those that are in line that say, sure, we'll take on the work. So it's all of that managing and the prioritization within the department to identify, making sure that contractor is doing the work that's required of the contract.
Right, and I agree with that. And sure, and I'm sorry, but I agree with what you just saying. But the problem is the metro government to pay these people, it comes on a turtle. That's the problem. And you have to already have somebody that is probably already well off, or that, can go ahead and do this work. But I guarantee you that if Metro government paid, for this work to get done, we would have more contractors that will be more receptive to do this work. Of course, people won't want to do a contract, and it takes them forever to get paid. So that I do believe that is a game. That's a politic game, and people that's been contracted with Metro government for quite some time that is pretty much more well off, or they can go ahead and pay for the work and worry about getting paid later. I think that those are the people that will go ahead and do it, but other people, they need their money.
Well, council member, I will challenge you that the Office of Management and Budget, as soon as they get those payments and approved, they're paying within terms now. There was a time where we were behind, and that did create a hit to our reputation, and it takes a while to build that back up. But we are paying on terms. In fact, there are some contractors that we work with who are, as you described, certain financial capacity, don't have the funds to float, but we do negotiate different terms. We have increased EFT transactions so that contractors get their funds faster. So there are mechanisms that we can use to work with contractors to make it a little bit easier to do business with us. And so we encourage everybody to definitely do business with us, because we can, we don't, it's not take it or leave it. It is a partnership, and we want them to be good partners with us and deliver on the services that are required.
So before I pass this to Councilwoman Blas, I'm just really tired of the Mayberry process. One car, one sheriff, one gun, one bullet. And I feel like this contractor, whoever, River Links, River City, I don't know. I feel like this contractor is like the chosen one. And I just think there's opportunities for other people to provide these services for us, because my constituents are so mad at me. And I have to explain it. None of you all have to explain it. And I feel bad for you taking the heat behind these people sitting behind you, because you do as they say as far as procurement and writing up proposals. So I'm going to encourage you not to wait until December the 31st to write up that RFP. Please make sure it goes out in November.
Well,
Councilwoman Bast.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
Thank you for being here. I got so many notes wrote down, I don't know where to start now. I think first I wanted to say I had a great meeting last week talking about speed humps with Kayla. I got a better understanding of how the processes work, and we're trying to dive in a little bit and maybe look at making some changes that we can put out there that will free up a lot of personnel time as well as wasted time on speed hump process. But I think it's kind of time that maybe we start looking into some other options for speed tactics in neighborhoods versus the $5,000 speed humps, which obviously we can't always afford, either can the neighbors. So I didn't know how often we start looking like into other traffic calming measures, because it's a huge thing in all of our areas, highways, everything now. No one has any notation for mile per hour, like they don't follow it. We all know that.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And what I can tell you is that today, this afternoon, I actually had a call with NACTO. Louisville is a NACTO affiliate city, and then as the National Association of City Transportation Officials. That group was kind of formed in reaction to a lot of the historic processes that have been put in place that are very, very restrictive. So things like ITE, the MUTCD manual, all of these words you have heard historically. NACTO guidelines are very much more open to other alternatives, trying out new things. And that is something that, meeting with their outreach team, trying to get a group together of other regional cities that have had similar experiences. Cincinnati is doing a lot of investigation with different methods that they could put in place. So that is something that we definitely are looking into, and something that I feel very strongly about arming my staff with the background and the information that they need to be problem solvers in a way that we haven't before.
Yeah, I think that would be great, because we could find something cheaper options and have multiple things. You know, what works for speed humps in this neighborhood may not work in this neighborhood. For an example, I'm going to use my neighborhood for an example. I have some in 2 of my streets, and they're speed humps, not bumps, so people could care less. I think it's a game. They just fly right over them, don't slow anything down, and I see that firsthand. I think the way I kind of look at things is maybe I don't know the possibility of maybe opening up contracts or non-contracted rates with local companies, to where, per se, if we could get a better timeline on payment, you might have X and P company that will take a contracted rate if they know they're going to be paid within 90 days to do these speed humps. And they're also local, and we're putting money back into our local businesses. I don't necessarily, I get the whole, so I guess it kind of falls, I'm just asking, I've worked in places where I need this tool, but I have to buy it out of this book, and it's going to cost me $150, or I could run up Lowe's and buy it for $10. But they make you use that book. Is that an overhead cost? Do y'all have like contracted rates with these companies? Or, because, it's a common thing that we hear, well, they charge so much because they know the money's coming from the city and they're going to get their money. So they upcharge these things. But we all see where the economy's at right now, and everything's skyrocketed. And this doesn't fall on you all. I think that comes across me echoing our other people in other districts, that we definitely need more options. And it's not the number one thing we get calls and complaints about is speed. Speed humps. I want speed humps. I think everyone in District 14 wants speed humps. And it's very disappointing to have to tell them, you have to pay this. I don't have the overhead to fund all the speed humps. And then they get upset, and people are running lights, and there's tons of wrecks and fatalities and people being hit and all of this in my district. And I think we're just trying to come up with some traffic calming issues that will work, that is also not extremely expensive.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bass. I have to get off of Public Works right now. I have another issue that's really important, and I think we only have 8 minutes. So I'm going to ask you this real quickly. I'm going to ask you these questions real quickly, and this involves suburban towing. We had a discussion 2 weeks ago on towing, cost of towing, and the method of towing, and the number of vehicles that suburban tows versus our city tow employees. So I'm looking, I have a copy of the bid, and it was an evaluated bid, and most of the time evaluated bids does include pricing. This bid it has 50 points for facility storage and 50 points for qualification and experience. There is nothing on here about pricing. Again, another contractor with a blank check. We discovered some things with Suburban's relationship with the city that was troubling. It was troubling to learn that any vehicle that they pick up on behalf of the city, after keeping that vehicle for so long, and I don't know if they apply for mechanics lien or what have you, but they get to auction the vehicle off and keep the proceeds from the vehicle. I have a problem with that. You guys just entered into a new contract with them in January, it looks like. I would like to know what the competitors look like, but I would really like to know why pricing was not one of the criteria to be met in this bid.
Yeah, thanks for that question. And I'm just looking at it now. There were 3 bids submitted. Actually, 2 of them were found to be non-responsive because of the scope of work that was asked of by police. And I think police department was kind of the lead on this particular contract because they had the need for impound storage and in addition to the towing. But come to find out that fleet, EMS, and fire also use the towing services for heavier situations and equipment that is necessary. The evaluation that you mentioned, I believe I wasn't intimately involved in the development of those specifications. Had I would have encouraged pricing. I believe that the idea was that they believed that the fees were set by ordinance and that the fees were static and were not going to be beyond what those costs are that are in ordinance. The price sheet that was included is the same rate that was provided in previous contracts, so it's not any more than the last contract was, but they included, and that was courtesy of fleet and facilities.
So all of what you said makes sense to you, but not to anyone else. And I mean, if you all are writing proposals without pricing being a criteria, that is dangerous. I would not encourage that. And like we said, this company is, I mean, they're making a ton of money. I understand that the city may tow a few hundred cars, they may tow a few thousand cars monthly. So we're paying them to tow cars, then they make money when they auction off the cars that they tow on our behalf, and they keep 100% of the proceeds. I didn't see anything in the contract addressing that at all. I mean, I don't know how you go about amending this contract, but something's not right with it.
I hear you. I can't speak to the day-to-day protocols and allocation of tows and how that's coordinated. That's solely within the police department's purview. I can tell you that we are paying as contracted. The rates that are put in there, the price, those invoices are matched against the invoice pricing, and they're operating within the terms of the contract.
I think I'm in the wrong business. I think I need to go in the speed humps and car towing. So, okay. Does anyone have anything to say about Suburban's contract?
So, thank you, Madam Chair. So, you're saying then that the fact that they can sell the impounded cars at auction and keep the entire proceed for each sale, that's not anything that you're aware of that was actually written in the contract?
This was for towing services and impound storage only, and the rates were set and the fees are set by ordinance. That's my understanding.
Okay, so the rates and fees, but that provision, I guess it was just missed. I don't know. So just me getting on my soapbox here for a minute. We talk about them being sort of their own entity, but in my view, they are the city. I mean, we subcontract to them. So as far as I'm concerned, any sort of revenue that comes from the sale of impounded automobiles should come back to the city of Louisville, not them. It's sort of like our company, if we decide that, we've got suppliers if we're over capacity, but our clients, as far as they're concerned, we are the company, right? They couldn't care less who the subcontractor is. So we bear the risk, but we also should be bearing any sort of benefit. So I'd like to talk to you about that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. Thank you.
Metro TV, she said we're adjourned.
Have you met?